this video is a little bit different than some of the other ones that I've put up in the past. It's a little bit more of a journal, I guess, for me. This ride was back in 2018 before I went over to the Merzouga rally in Morocco. And I don't have a whole lot of roadbook experience, so this video is really me practicing with a roadbook, trying to learn from guys with a lot more experience than me, and just spending a little bit more time out in desert terrain. This ride was one of the first times I'd really experienced desert with any level of aggression on a big bike. And because of the KTM Ultimate Race, I knew I'd be over in Morocco in the sand in the desert on a 790. So I needed more practice than really what I'd had in order to be competitive at all, and really just needed to get my head around the roadbook. The scenery is beautiful. You kind of are trying to force yourself to focus and not pay attention to what you're riding through, unfortunately.
So a lot of times what I'll do is, so I finish an instruction, I look at the next one to get the odo for the next one.
Yep.
And then just keep repeating that in my head, because if I stop doing that,
yeah,
shoot, you know,
yep.
Especially late in the day,
yeah,
your mind starts to wander. It's like you have to be religious about looking at the odo, repeat it to yourself until you get to it, and it helps you keep in mind about how far away you really are.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, yeah, it was definitely hard to keep track of where I was going, cap heading, and my odo. The problem ended up being it was like playing a game of telephone with myself, where I'd be repeating a number in my head, and then all of a sudden I'd be second guessing what that number was. You'll see a couple times in this video I get screwed up. This is one of those times where I'm just not trusting the odo enough.
What's your odo?
Yeah.
How short are you?
A tenth.
What was that?
A tenth. So there's another one? Okay.
The other thing is saying that it's left into large wash.
Yeah.
Not large, right?
By Indiana standards, I don't know.
Well, keep going.
Okay.
That's a good one. I'm starting out second gear.
Okay.
I mean, on a dirt bike, I would start out in second gear.
I'll try it.
You're just gonna have to get a feel for it. You may have to paddle to get yourself to plane out.
Okay.
Okay.
So this was like the first time that I'd ridden sand really and tried to do it at more than like a walking pace for like short distances, and then like tried to avoid the sand. So I was trying to pick up every tip that I could, and ultimately I needed more speed. I was riding a gear too low because it felt like the RPM was high, but the RPM wasn't really. It was high, but I was spinning the wheel, and you really have to keep the wheel speed up with a big bike, so I needed to be a gear higher and just use more throttle, and the bike straightens out.
Woo! Wow! That's different.
So the biggest thing that people do is they get to 5702 and they look at the next instruction for the cap.
Yep.
So at 5702, now that you hit this, right?
Yep.
Now you need to turn to 146.
Yep.
So in the grand scheme, you were heading at 221, so you're heading kind of southwest, southwest, and you're going to go 146, which is what that you're a little bit to the left, basically, right?
Yeah, so that way-ish.
So, and you did it great. When you looked at the hill, you looked at where the path of least resistance was, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing to remember is now you're probably a little ahead, right? Or no, you're really close.
I'm right on.
Yeah, you're 30 yards on. So as you go to the next one, you might be off when you hit the next one. So remember to adjust your odo when you hit the waypoint.
Okay.
The ERTF, depending on how they do it, in Dakar this last year, they didn't correct. The ERTF can, when you hit a waypoint, correct your odo.
Oh, really? Okay.
But keep in mind that if you don't ride to the center of it, that's the 100, you know, the extra.
It's still going to be off.
100 meters, right?
Yep.
You're going to be off when you bang it.
Okay.
Even worse when you have waypoint C's.
Okay.
Okay. So if it's doing the auto correct, it's really important for you to go to the center of the you know, keep going on that where the arrow had you going.
Okay.
Go that 100 meters and then do your turn.
Okay.
So as you're going here, you're not going to be able to ride this in a straight line.
I figured that out pretty quick.
Yep. So take that into account. You know, you're going to be long when you hit the next one, but how much long you don't know.
Yeah.
But with 400-meter circles, right, you should hit the next one. It's 58.12, so you should hit it at 57.72. It should pop.
Okay.
You know what I mean, or somewhere close to that.
So all waypoint masks, they're all 400-meter radius?
In Rally Blitz.
In Rally Blitz.
In Rally Blitz.
Okay.
That's your math.
Okay.
But I mean, that's another check. You know what I mean? They're like, oh crap, you know, I've hit it and I'm expecting the bubble to pop. How far off am I? That gives you a judge also if you've blown it, you know, like if you've just gone totally by it.
Yeah, okay.
There's lots of on-the-fly math in Rally, so trying to find the waypoints, once you find it, don't be overzealous and just duck off on the next tulip. If it doesn't line up, you may have to keep going further to get to the center of that waypoint. And then making sure that the odo is on the money, so you're trying to click up and down on your odometer to make sure it's dead on at the waypoint. One of the problems that I had is I would get to a waypoint and I would say, oh, it's close, and I'd keep going because I didn't want to, you know, mess with it. I thought it was fine. Well, those errors stack up and they can cause a problem eventually. So it saves time in the long run.
Yeah, sand is something else, but
What are you adjusting? Are you staying back?
Yeah, I'm getting back more and more, and it seems like sitting down almost works better sometimes.
You know, it allows that front tire to come up, and if you're always, I find if you're always applying some kind of direct drive to the back wheel, if you let off the gas, that's when you're like, oh!
Yeah.
So you're constantly trying to keep that even a little bit of direct drive going.
Yeah, well.
The throttle is horrible.
Yeah.
Do what?
Chopping the throttle is horrible.
You just dive. You're just front end just dives in.
Well, there have been a couple times. Do what?
Especially with that.
Yeah. I don't know what gear I'm in because the RPM's there no matter what gear. And then I let off the throttle and it stalls because I'm in like third or fourth gear or something.
You're going to see quite a bit of sand when you're on your Morocco trip, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to see how, I mean, is it...
The first couple days have lately been in the mountains, but then they get down into the dunes, and then they'll do, you know, through the dunes. The last day was circuits in the dunes.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
So is navigation even more difficult when you don't, or is it just the same? Or
yes or no? I mean, at that point, there's tracks in the sand.
Okay.
I just figured out what I did to get lost. I was looking at the 39-degree cap heading from this waypoint. I got the wrong one in my head instead of 331. That's why.
That's what I was telling you.
Yeah.
So how do you...
So, because you...
Wow.
Yeah, so that's common.
Yep.
So like when you hit it, so the HP stuff is different because when you hit it, all the information is in that instruction.
Yep. Yeah, when you first said it the first time, I was like, how would you ever get that wrong? And it's really easy to get wrong.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be pretty easy. I didn't think I'd have a problem with it, and I would proceed to have a lot of problems with it.
Ah. Can't ride and navigate at the same time.
I would look at the wrong
61.49.
tulip. I would look
323.
at the next tulip in a section of HP, which means
Which
no
is that
trail,
way.
and I would look at the wrong
Until
heading as a result.
61.78.
You have to switch. When you're in HP, you need to remember what's in the previous tulip, the previous instruction, and then change when you get to the next one. For everything else, you have to look at the next tulip. So getting my brain to switch back and forth was something that I ran into a couple times. And of course, there's a lot of general technique things that I was struggling with here too. So I was trying to balance paying attention to navigation and figuring out how to ride.
I think I got sand in a brake or something.
What? That's not possible.
Is that normal? If something smells...
Back one.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say something smells really hot.
Back there, and I felt it probably 500, I mean a lot, a good... Yeah, I was probably 200 yards behind you and smelled it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was thinking it was me. I wasn't thinking it was you.
That's interesting.
So I must have been dragging my foot on the lever. I've come a long way in learning how to stand on this bike. I still had rocks risers on the bike, so I was standing up too straight, and that was causing problems with like attack position, staying low on the bike ergonomically, and I was wearing myself out because it forced me to stay up higher. I was also had my brake lever was up too high.
I think those dudes were looking at you on the 950 going, what the?
Yeah.
That's probably the right reaction.
Yeah,
Really.
so your mistake was you didn't stay in the trail, you turned into the wash. There was a trail along the fence.
Oh, okay.
Instruction was that
Turn away from the fence line.
was to turn away from the fence.
I saw that after I had picked the wash, thinking, oh, the bigger trail, I'll pick this.
Oh, it's the one you were on.
It's the one you were on without changing trail type? Okay.
You know, after we got going here, it was like, okay, how do I focus on riding and navigation? And you really can't ride and navigate at the same time. If you're looking down, you're going to miss something. You're going to crash. At least when you're at my limited skill level. So trying to memorize what was important and not everything on the tulip is one of the tips that I got here. And that was, you know, pay attention to your odometer. Pay attention to where you are relative to the next thing. You're not going to remember everything in the tulip, but if you remember the odometer, when you get close, you can then look at it and say, okay, I need to look for a cow trail off to the left here, right? You can remember that short term. So you hear me say, this is weird. You know, I've never ridden sand like this. You throw all those ruts in it, the bike's moving back and forth a lot. Just trying to get a feel for it and get used to what the bike does. A steering damper maybe would help, but I'm not sold on those as compensation for riding on the bike, but they are great to have for safety.
You'll go for hours without seeing another person.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck, am I on the right thing? That's why I stopped here, because I didn't see your track banging the turns.
Right.
So you'll see me ride past my buddy here. This is something I did a couple times, is when I was not riding in the front, and I've done this in events now too, and it's a problem, is I would just end up riding behind them and get on this autopilot, which is not good, because then, if you pass them, as you should be trying to do, you don't know where you are in the roadbook. So I get to this junction here and suddenly realize, oh crap, I don't know where I am on the roadbook anymore. And it screwed me up, and I had to figure it out here.
What'd I miss?
So you came out of the wash and right onto the road. They're only 90 yards apart.
Oh.
So one of the things that I do when shit's really close together
Yep.
is I make a squiggle through the odo. Is that what you're doing there?
That's what I was trying to do here, but it's obviously didn't get my attention at all.
Yeah, so I use a squiggle or a hash through the tulips that are close together.
Okay. That's probably more obvious than what I did.
Yeah, I mean, I would do it through the odo because you're looking at the odo. The right side of your box, maybe not so much.
And what's your limit? Like 0.2 kilometers?
0.3, yeah.
0.3?
I mean, it kind of depends. If there's a whole bunch, you know, and the farthest one is 0.3, I'm going to do them all.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Part of the challenge is you need to ride your own navigation ride, right? If you pay attention to what someone else is doing too much, you second guess yourself, which again I've definitely done now. So trying to make sure I'm riding on my own odometer and my own cap heading and not just following tracks or following the bike in front of me, because then when you do get to a challenging area, you know how to ride through it and you're not lost and then having to scroll back through. There was a comment about connecting tulips together to see what's coming, so you know that, okay, I need to look ahead a little bit. I consistently had a problem with it on this practice where I would get behind in my notes. So I would hit a point, and I'll point it out when I do it. I'd hit a point, and then I would realize I don't know what's next, and then I'd have to stop, figure it out, make sure I wasn't going to pass it, and then keep going. And you lose a ton of time doing that. And then there's other times like this, riding through this wash. You know, I've looked at my road book. I know that I'm staying in this wash for some time. At that point, you're just riding, and that's where you only need to really remember, okay, at this odometer reading, I need to pay attention, right? You just keep that number in your head and block out all the rest, and then you have a much higher chance of remembering it. Yeah, I could have ridden all the way down there, but my brain saw a crash and didn't respond properly.
You okay?
Cracked myself real bad.
Do what?
My nuts.
Oh.
Oh shit.
Nothing permanent?
Oh. Oh Jesus.
Just lie there for a second then.
Just my nuts. My balls. Oh. Cracked myself real bad.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry if my slowness over the salt made you stop.
Yeah, I just needed a run from back there. Wow, that thing's light.
Oh man. I think I'm not having the cubes anymore.
We're so sympathetic, standing there watching our buddy writhing around on the
I
ground.
turned around. I don't know if the camera's
More
still
worried
going, but I
about
might
picking
have
the
got
bike
that.
up and, holding each other up, going up the hill. Fortunately, he was okay though. So, on into the next day of practice, I was starting to get a better feel for the terrain. Being from Indiana, we ride a lot of slower stuff. It's a lot tighter and more technical when it's off-road. So it took me a little bit to get a groove on, and eventually got there as best as I could have hoped. So then it was just focus on the road book, don't pay any attention to anyone around me, and just go ride. And so you'll see a lot less of the other guys now because I'm trying to focus much harder, and I stayed out in front of them since I was trying to get that practice. These washes were a little bit interesting. There's a lot of hidden rocks and stuff in them. It's where a steering damper can be kind of useful. But the nice thing is once you're in them, as long as you know your odometer reading for where you need to pop out, you just ride.
Oh, I hope the GoPro's on.
So right around here, you'll see me look down at my brake foot. And it's because my rear brake started feeling really strange. It was like it was going soft. It's a 950. I've boiled the brakes on it before, and have fixed that problem with pads and fluid and stuff. But it was starting to feel like it boiled again. Well, it turned out that I had forgotten to put the cotter pins back in the brake pad retaining pin last time I changed the brake pads, and so the pin had started to move around, so one of the pads was walking out. Unfortunately, I didn't realize what was happening until after I had lost the brake pads entirely, along with the pin. So I was finally starting to get my groove in the sand and really get better, but at this point I was now riding by myself, which is a little bit of a different challenge mentally, which was good because in Morocco you would not see people for long periods of time. So I had to be dead on the money because there wasn't somebody there to correct me or catch my mistake. And what that told me is that I really needed to pay attention to every tulip, right? Don't say, well, okay, that seemed close. You gotta keep that odometer on, right? Gotta make sure you adjust it every time there's a good solid reference. If it's off by a couple tenths, hit the button. And then there were times when I had to really step up my recovery. So I would get lost and get off, and I would need to figure out where I was. And so after screwing up a few times and then screwing around thinking, oh, if I just kind of ride in a circle a little, like I'll probably find it. Well, I didn't have any luck with that, and later got more tips and stuff and said, yeah, don't ever do that, because on average you're just going to lose a bunch of time. Go back to your last known position. Even though it's so painful to ride backwards, you know you're going in the wrong direction. You have to do it so that you can figure out where you are and then get back on it, you know where you're going. And one of the other things has been making sure I'm not second guessing my odometer, right? You might be a tenth or two away from something, or a hundredth or two away from something, and think, oh, this looks right, this has to be it. And it's not. You just have to keep going. So here you see me slow down on top of this dam, and this is something that should never happen. What this means is I was so focused on just riding, or was so lost in thought, that I hadn't looked at what was coming when I got there. I hadn't paid attention to my odometer. There's another reason why you don't want to be looking down all the time, is you don't want to ride into a random pond in the middle of the trail.
Waypoint before this, though. Oh, it's after this. I'm looking at the wrong one again. Which means I'm on the wrong side of the wash now.
So you hear me realize, oh, the waypoint is actually after this pond.
Yeah.
And then I realize, oh, I think I'm on the wrong side of the wash. And so I had two choices. I could either keep going and try to cross the wash and hope that I found it up there, or I could go back to the previous tulip, and I knew that the previous tulip was right there, and then I'd be dead on my odometer, so I just went back.
Through notch. Ha!
So there you can see, somehow I ended up too far to the left where I needed to go. I was supposed to ride through that notch from the other side, but in the HP, I missed it. it's very critical to correct the odometer. Really, it's probably better to go back up to the notch, reset, and then turn around. I estimated and got lucky. Sometimes it works. I don't know how reliable it is.
Okay, I'm short by.
So you can hear now, I've started talking to myself, and this helped me a lot. I'm talking out loud. It's not for the benefit of the camera. I started doing that all the time because it would force me to think through what I was doing and keep me focused.
That one. Wow. It's beautiful.
This is a spot where I second guessed my odometer.
Okay, hit it. And then
Notice that I stopped there. That means
it.
I'm not reading far enough ahead. Now, you can kind of see it on the roadbook. I've got all the tulips tied together saying these are close, and I still missed it.
Oh, no, I didn't miss it. It's right there.
And if I'd kept going, I'd have found that cut that I just dropped onto. That's where I was supposed to be. And all those little losses of time add up.
Okay. 33. Right there. 31. 19. Turn right. Little too much there.
The washes are interesting, especially when they're big. You can pick up quite a bit of time by cutting the corners off of the washes. The problem is your odometer will then be short, so you have to adjust accordingly. You can see there, I almost blew through that tulip, which I think was saying, hey, there's these posts right there, go HP at this point, right? Well,
Okay.
I hadn't read far enough
67.
ahead, and I almost blew it. So again, I'm not staying on the ball enough. And then I'm looking down, trying to figure out where I am here, and I'm plowing through some stuff that, you know, I really need to pay a little bit more attention to the riding too. So lots of learning, really cool opportunity, and super thankful to my friends for helping me out with this. Always lots to learn. It's a skill that's hard to practice, so we'll keep going with it.